This is Big John Bates, and you're listening to the Nothing Shocking Podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking Podcast, a non-genre based, all-ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking Podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking Podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers, like our Facebook page, or follow us on Twitter at NoShockPod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking Podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We would like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Big John Bates of Noirchestra.
And Big John Bates and the Voodoo Dollz, also former lead guitar player, songwriter for Canadian thrash band Annhilator.
Yeah.
So what a great interview. Doing some promotion for the Noirchestra. We kind of referred to it as, what kind of punk did he say it was?
I wrote rustic punk.
Rustic punk. So, very intriguing interview. Let's get to that interview right now.
All right. Good night.
John, welcome to the Nothing Shocking Podcast. I'd like to introduce you my co-host, Jeff Untied.
John, this is going to be fun to talk to you tonight.
Hey, yeah, Jeff. Yeah, good to meet you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for all the correspondence. We're excited to have you on tonight. So let's get right into this. With COVID-19 stalling the music and entertainment industry, how did you keep yourself busy during the pandemic?
I had a little studio on I live on a boat, okay, firstly. So I've already isolated myself somewhat. And I have a studio on here. That's where we recorded the last two albums, everything but the drums. So I just sat here and with my dog Klaus, and we I recorded songs, played songs, tried to entertain him. He likes them, so they're probably pretty good.
Oh, very good. With Big John Bates and the Noirchestra have been releasing new music consistently since 2010. Most recently, Skinner's Cage in 2019. Can you talk more about the writing and recording process of the Skinner's Cage album?
Yeah, I mean, I sure can. That record, I mean, we were touring it when COVID hit. We were actually supposed to be landing in Italy on February 26th when Italy totally shut down in 2020. So yeah, it was all pretty fresh at that point. I mean, we recorded it partly in Germany on tour, and partly on my boat in Vancouver. And it was, I would write songs. Brandy Bones, she's the upright bass player, she would write, and we'd just kind of run everything past our drummer and our violin player, Tyler, and Emily. And we just kind of went for a flow of feeling. Something we had the idea of Americana Noir. We always try to come up with an idea for a record, like a theme or a feel or something, and then just sort of play around in that yard.
Very good. Can we talk a little bit more about the origins of the Noirchestra? How did it get all started? And is this one of those kind of things that you see this as being a long-term project, or is it another like 10-year type of deal? Or how do you see this all working out for you?
Yeah, I asked myself that question too. I like it a lot. I mean, it really depends on the people involved, right? Like Brandy and I met Brandy when I was doing the Voodoo Dollz thing still. So that was, I think she did her first tour with me in like 2009, and it was pretty cool. We were doing 10,000 seaters. We were opening for big bands in Europe and stuff, right? It was pretty dramatic. So just right during that time, I was kind of noticing that was going out of vogue. So we and I don't know. I think we beat it to death. So she was like, "Well, let's try this rustic punk idea I've got. Let's do that." And I was like, "Okay, that's cool." And then we started writing for it, and it just got better and better. And I mean, we haven't really run out of ideas or anything. I'm thinking that it'll go as long as Brandy and I are writing together.
Oh, fantastic.
Nice. Yeah, I'm kind of curious about your boat, if you don't mind talking about it. If not, I can cut it. But
no, that's totally fine.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your boat?
Okay, yeah, it's called a Uniflight. They're made down in Bellingham, Washington. I guess they were made back in the 70s. And it's a power boat, but it's got a whole lot of interior space and like teak, right?
Yeah.
So the sound for it's really good. It works well for the Pacific Northwest, and the ceilings are high enough and soft enough that it takes like violin and acoustic guitars and that sort of sound really nicely.
Oh, cool.
So I can make all that happen. I mean, sometimes I can do it at sea, but usually we do it at land, like while we're at the dock, just for consistent power and stuff.
Oh, fantastic!
But it's a fun boat. It's about 38 feet long, I guess.
Oh,
okay.
Goodness.
Yeah, that's awesome. Size. Yeah, we live on the river, the Mississippi River, and I've always had that dream of getting a boat and traveling up and down.
Yeah. I grew up. My dad was he did a lot of things. He was like an NHL goalie and stuff like that. But he was also a boat captain. So my first job was working on the boats.
That's awesome.
I just had it in me ever since. I think this is my fifth boat or something like that.
Fantastic. All right, so I want to bring this back to the music. Back to the Noirchestra.
You guys can feel free to edit me at your will.
Yeah.
Back to the Noirchestra was the question I had was how is the band's I guess the sound, the writing over the past 10, 11 years, how has it changed and evolved and matured? Is it fair enough to say that since the band has started from its infancy to now, can you look back and say, hey, we've really matured as far as writers and musicians and songwriters and what have you?
I think that's a valid statement. We started off, we were like pretty punky kind of stuff, right? And we still have that element, but bringing in strings and things like that, and then different textures, trying to find unique instruments to play on songs to really dress things up. I mean, learning how to make things bigger and simpler at the same time. It's definitely a progression, and I'm really, I really think that Brandy and I have kind of nailed that part of it, and it just keeps getting more and more like that. It's a path more than it's like just set in stone, right? We just keep finding new ways to do it.
Absolutely. And we've spoke to, I would say, a good many artists that that had their origins or some roots in metal that have come across. They've evolved into the Americana singer-songwriter stuff. They've kind of flexed their muscles up and down from metal to, like I said, singer-songwriter, folk musician, what have you, anywhere to punk. When it comes to, I guess, musical genre, do you have a preference, since you've kind of been through the gamut of it as of the last X amount of years, as far as performing and I guess maybe even recording, where is your preference when it comes to genre?
The thing I like about metal, like when I started Annhilator and we were doing that stuff, I noticed right away, like, the fans are rabid, right? They're very into it, and that's super important. And sometimes too into it, but I mean, they really support their artists. And I think Americana people, once they get a grip on it, they like it too. It's different though, and for me, I like it. It's a little bit more. How can I put this without being contentious? It's a little the Americana styles that we're working in are a little more mature, maybe for what we're doing. I mean, Metallica's still out there doing it. They're the same age as me, right? But and that's great. But even them, they've gone through their maturity as well. They've just done it all sort of in the same kind of arena. Whereas we changed significantly. At least I did. Between like Allison Hell and Skinner's Cage, there's a world of difference there. But I mean, I'm still the same artist, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to bring in those the stories that trying to dig into things with the lyrics. And hoping for, some catchy riffs and whatnot, which I probably get from all the metal.
Yeah, very good.
Where do you find your biggest influences to like write songs?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I mean, I'd have to think about it because for depends on what I'm doing. I usually just noodle around with guitars and just pull things out of nowhere. But I mean, I listen to a lot of stuff. Like Brandy's over in Germany still. After our last tour, she stayed there, tattooing, and so she was down in Hamburg last week, and she ran into a band from LA called I think Heathen Apostles, which would be Chopper Franklin's new band, and I knew him from the Cramps, right? So I mean, it goes all the way back to that. Like I go right back to early rock and the simplicity of it, the sort of the punk elements of garage too, and then I kind of take it because a lot of that was dark and was interesting, and I just take that and I try to make it kind of groove a little bit and give the bass a place to land in a really soft spot on the kick drum and kind of go from there.
Oh, very good. Since you brought up Annhilator, I was going to kind of bring that up toward the end of the interview, but since you've already brought it up, I'm just going to kind of cover that area, and then we'll kind of go back to the top again. But I remember when Allison Hell was released, and it was gaining a lot of momentum from the label, so much that there was even an ad in different skateboarder magazines. Back when I was in high school, Thrasher and Trans World Skate, there was ads out for that album. And I remember the quote on that album from the label was, it was Canadians' answer to Metallica or something like that, Allison Hell. Can you talk a little bit more about the writing of that album? How did it all work out? And, the label was doing a hard push for you guys at that time. Can you kind of go back in time a little bit and give us a little story?
Yeah, I mean, I remember hearing that Canada's Metallica or whatever. I mean, like that was they were influencing us for sure. I mean, I remember seeing the Ride Lightning tour, and they were like, they're out of control good. But we wrote that whole record, I think, in the basement of a women's fashion store down in Ottawa. Yeah, it was. I mean, we just would go in there night after night and just work on songs, bring down riffs, lyrics, whatever, and just bash it out, right? And it was like all we did. We, a lot of us kind of lost touch with some of our friends a bit just to sit there and do that. I think we did it for a couple of years, just working at it until we finally got it. And we wound up with songs for a couple of the albums from all that. Mm-hmm. It was a hell of a time, but it was not an easy time either. There may have been
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say there may have been a lot of alcohol, etc.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
As we speak of Annhilator, I know it's listed as Canada's biggest selling thrash metal act of all time. Can you talk a little bit more about the origins of the band and how it all came together? Because there for a while, Annhilator had a really good, strong following in the United States as well.
Yeah, I think Jeff kind of gave up on that. I mean, I walked away from it pretty early. Mm-hmm. I know they did a tour with Testament, and I think that from what I know, the label just didn't support it as much as they supported them in Europe. The biggest sales were in Europe. It was easier to tour it. It was probably less expensive to tour it. After you get over there, it's not very far between gigs or anything, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's why I still tour over there so much. I think that's what happened, because I know they did, and they were doing big shows. Like there was a tour with Pantera and Priest. I think there was a tour with Maiden. There was a lot of big shows in Europe, and then they'd come over, and then they'd get a Winnebago, and they'd tool around after Testament over here. So it was quite a different gig.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, what are your current plans with Noirchestra? What are your current plans with as far as like touring and stuff? Are you doing any shows now?
I think like I said, I'm working on songs now. We're definitely going to go back to Europe. And I was just talking to our violinist Emily today about when and what. I said, well, maybe 2022, the spring, we'll do Europe. And if we're going to do Canada and America, depending on how that all unfolds, we'll do that in the fall. And usually if we go to Japan, we go in the winter. So we kind of move it around like that. I mean, I want to make sure this record sees like its fruition, right? I think it's the best record that I've ever been a part of. But when the tour got sort of shut down, I mean, we didn't know what to do. I didn't know either. Like I was like, well, everybody's like, well, it's going to come back. It's not coming back. No one can do it. Nobody knows nothing, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, well, so I'm going to write a few songs to replace, some of the older songs or songs that I, maybe don't want to play on the next tour for whatever reason. And but it's basically we're just going to continue the Skinner's Cage tour until we feel like it's seen, it's had its legs, and then we'll pull something else out of the hat.
Oh, very good.
And I think, I was talking to actually one of the producer from Skinny Puppy and a bunch of other things, a guy named Dave Rave, and I think he's going to get involved with the next one. We've been talking. We play hockey together, and we've been talking about different ideas for studios and whatnot. So I think it'll happen like that.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
You brought up the touring of Europe, and we've talked to many artists that say their preference of going over to Europe is, and when it comes to touring, is is where they like to be, because everything is in such proximity to one another, as opposed to when they come to United States, or it's a 12-hour bus ride here, 10-hour bus ride there. Do you, in your, I guess, this part of your career, do you have a preference when it comes to touring? Where, logistically, where do you prefer, touring?
It's weird, right? Because I like touring in the States. I like it because I get to see so many of my friends, and it's really nice to tour in a language that I more or less understand. Going over to Europe is terrific. Like the sightseeing is amazing. The fans are very knowledgeable about what we're doing, which is cool too. I mean, they're both different. If we go to Japan and people don't really know us there, but they're extremely excited that we're there at all. So you get to see all the different. Everywhere you go, it sort of has an up and a down, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. You briefly spoke about recording on your boat.
Yeah.
We see technology taking over to the points for artists where they don't have to get in a proper studio anymore. They can record in their bedroom, their bathroom, their kitchen, wherever they want to, in their shower. As far as we see less and less artists getting into a proper studio, recording new music, where's your head at these days when it comes to technology and preference of recording, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I have a Pro Tools rig on the boat, but I wouldn't even dream of doing drums here, because I think it takes a really good technician to record drums properly, and you need the right room and someone that knows it. So I'm a fan of that. I can do the acoustic instruments and the guitars and stuff myself, but I won't even pretend to mix it. I mean, there's guys there that are so good at it, or girls that are so good at that. That there's no point in my doing it. And plus, it's nice to have other ears, right? And even in going in the studio, you're getting different gear, different ears. Sometimes even the process of packing all your stuff up and taking it to a place and actually, having a little bit of pressure on you is a good thing. People tend to screw around if it's just, let's go over to John's boat and we'll record some songs and maybe pick up mermaids, huh? Yeah. Okay, guys. Okay.
So for our listeners that might not be familiar with you, can you tell us a little bit about your roots? Like, how did you get started in music?
Oh, in music?
Yeah.
In me, I grew up in Ottawa, which is out sort of north of Rochester, I guess, if you were looking at a map.
Yeah.
I don't know. North of New York there. But, I grew up out there and wound up I went to, business school out there and such. That's where I met Jeff Waters from Annhilator. We lived in the same neighborhood. So that just kind of came together. I don't know. I guess I had a pretty normal growing up. I was an adopted kid. But the people that adopted me liked me, so that was a bonus.
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of take this back to the Voodoo Dollz, a band that started releasing new music in 1999 until 2010. The band's such a cool band.
Yeah.
What caused that band to end things when it did?
I kind of thought that we were... we'd said everything we were going to say. As much fun as it was to tour, it was also a bit painful. There was a lot of different personalities and a lot of, a lot of people wanted different things out of it. And we were starting to see burlesque troops popping up everywhere we went. And it wasn't quite as special. It didn't feel as special. I mean, we were doing different stuff with the fire and the knife fights on stage and stuff like that. It was pretty cool. And that's what I wanted. Right? I wanted almost like a punkabilly Alice Cooper kind of vibe or something.
Yeah.
I just wanted something like that to happen. And to be fair, I've been going through a lot of stuff while I've been in this pandemic, and I found tons of footage from I think 2002 to 2007. I think I found 5 years worth of I guess we dragged a camera around in the vans and the buses and planes. And so I found all this footage, and I was like, well, this is pretty cool stuff. And there was a couple of live DVDs we shot during that time period too. So at one point, I might try to find an editor to put it all together and make something neat out of it.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah. How is the music scene like where you're living now? I know you're on a boat, but when you make it into town, do you is there any?
Well, I can see Tang. It's right there. I'm so.
How is on the Canada side? How is the music scene going? Is there still good venues for bands to play in, or is it getting more sparse like it is here in the States?
There's not much happening. There's the places are maybe partly full, and you have to be double vaxxed now to go into a place, and there's shows that are probably going to start up in October around here, maybe in October, November. I think I see the listings for stuff. We were going to do a show with Helmet in November, but they were out with Ministry down in the States, and I think that got the plug pulled, and it just nobody knows what's going on, and it's a lot of logistics, and a lot of people's lives get impacted quickly when a tour falls apart. I think we're just Vancouver's just sort of tentatively opening up, and I'd say in about a month. I've seen some people playing in little tiny clubs and stuff. That's about it.
Yeah, so cool. All right, so I got another Voodoo Dollz question to ask you. Excuse me. The genre that the Voodoo Dollz came to the forefront with the rockabilly stuff, I thought was so cool. You guys are definitely your own act, stand alone from anything else. Could you ever see yourself getting back into that genre again, being you were so good at it? Or is that ship kind of just sailed for you?
I like it still. I mean, I still listen to a lot of bands that I came up with, right? I pay attention to what's going on in that world. I have toyed around with the idea of doing a band called Graveyard Blondes. I have a few guys that have agreed to play with me, a few people, but I mean, it's sort of a back burner idea right now. Yeah. But I don't know, man. I remember the first time I heard the Cramps, and I just lost my mind. And the first time I ever saw the Cramps, there was I didn't know who the opening band was, but they were really good. And I was like, well, it took me years to find out it was the Reverend Horneed.
Yeah.
I was out in Montreal, and I was just like, what, that changed my life. That literally changed everything for me, I think that I could find the passion to do something like that again.
Yeah. Please do.
Yeah. I was a big fan of the Reverend Horneed.
You got one more, Jeff?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about one of the covers on, I think it was the Mystique album, Tainted Love. Can you just talk a little bit about recording that song?
Wow. Okay. That was recorded in 2002, 2003, something like that. Yeah. I did it with a guy named Todd Simcoe, who was known. I don't know if you guys knew the band called Pure down in the States too well. They were on the Cool World soundtrack and stuff, but he was the guitar player for that band. So he and I kind of got together. I had this weird job where I was running two different premises for a company, and I sort of have to drive, and his studio was in between the two of them. So I would stop off in the middle of my day and go into the studio with my guitar for 3 or 4 hours and go on to, continue with my work day. I think we had two different drummers on that record. We were digging up a whole lot of stuff, but that one we really, really wanted to make a splash with it. That's why we got the artwork was from first time I worked with my buddy Jim Cummings, who goes by iBrainEater. He did the art for that one, and if you've seen his artwork, that's pretty standard for his kind of style. I don't know, that Tainted Love was something that was a song that just kind of screamed out to me. I like the soft cell version. I like the old '60s R&B version. So I was like, well, I thought I could pull something off there in between, and it kicked every time we played it.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. All right, I got one last question for you. As we look past the COVID-19 restrictions, whenever they fall apart, which we're hoping soon, but I've been saying that for a year now.
I know, 2 years almost. Hard to believe.
Outside of Noirchestra, what can we expect from you from the future? As far as, is Noirchestra going to be something that's going to be the forefront here in the next few years, or are we going to see you dabble around some other things, maybe a return to metal or anything like that?
I think that Noirchestra will probably take up most of my brain, but when I write songs that aren't aimed for that one, I start thinking of this Graveyard Blondes idea. One of my manager's son looked at me one day and he was like, I like your hair. It's kind of that Graveyard Blonde because it's gray, right? And I was like, I thought that was the best thing I've ever heard. I'm like, absolutely. Taking that, making a band name.
That's
so
cool.
The songs that aren't Noirchestra songs, I'm kind of putting into that sort of vibe. I don't know about metal. I mean, if somebody comes, if Devin Townsend comes to my sort of town, maybe I'll somehow with him. But you never know, right? It just depends who's around and who's doing what.
Yeah,
there's a lot of good and interesting musicians in this city. It's not got a great big like rock and roll scene running down the middle of it like Chicago or something, but there's a punk rock scene here that's been underground forever. It pops up every now and then. I think it'll happen again. I don't know where, but I'll be there.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say you had a lot of writing credits with Annhilator. Have you ever thought about just co-writing songs for bands?
Yeah, Jeff and I talk about it now and then. I have ideas, but I want to do things. I want to have a little more input into things, and Jeff likes to keep that pretty battened down.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been a thing, and he also has moved to England. So he's just that much farther away. Although I do hear he's got a wicked studio over there. He sent me some pictures of it. So you never know. He's like, come on over here, stay at my place, record here. I was like, you never know.
Yeah.
Well, we have ran out of our allotted time tonight. Thank you so much for your participation. Before we let you go tonight, is there anything that we left off that you'd like to promote or plug?
Let me think. I don't know. I feel like I've said a lot. I guess I recently became a brand ambassador for Dayton Boots. So yay, go Vancouver.
Yeah, fantastic.
I think that's pretty cool. I've been working on some Gretsch guitars, so I've had a thing with them for a while. So I've been rebuilding a couple of old guitars like that. So, I mean, I always got to thank them for that sound, right? That is the rock sound for sure. Other than that, I don't know. I'm just hanging with Klaus.
Oh, very good.
I do have new video coming out that we're recording half in Europe and half here, which is going to be pretty cool for a song called Bone of Contention off the new record, the Skinner's Cage record. And that Brandy wrote it, and it's about being killed and walled up inside of a house and then singing to your murderer, which I think is cool.
Yeah. That sounds exciting.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll be back in touch with you at the end of October. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Thanks,
Have a
John.
good
Thank
trip.
you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
grip of fear. You can make your dreams come true, but you just can't do it here. Everybody eyes the gun and screams inside their head. Everybody bites their tongue and pays their bills instead. Hide in the spotlights, fight the grip of